Greetings, this is Jim Lindsay. This is a tutorial over Pixlr.com. It's a free image editing website that you can use. It has a number of different options available to you. Even at the Pixlr.com website, you have like 4 different ways that you can edit the images. So if you need a way to take pictures that you've gotten from the internet or pictures that you've taken yourself and adjust those in just about any way imaginable, this website can help you do it. Let's get started. Let's begin by going to Pixlr.com. Another great thing about this site is Pixlr.com. Another great thing about this site is that it's completely free. The services that it allows you to perform, and then the app that you can download, which is completely optional, they don't cost you anything. This new thing up here at the top, where it's talking about the Autodesk, that's the 4th way I was referencing. That's the newest way. If you want to put that onto a tablet or a phone, you can use your phone to edit your images via Pixlr. So that's the 4th way. The first way would have been down here with the Pixlr editor, and we're not going to use that one. That one has a really steep learning curve. If you've ever used Photoshop, Pixlr editor will feel very familiar, very comfortable. It's very robust as far as what it's open source, I believe, and just about anything you can do in Photoshop you can do through the Pixlr editor. It would take us a really long time to learn all of the different ways to work with its tools, and so instead what we're going to use is this Pixlr Express, and this is a very user-friendly, capable way of editing images right off of our computer. It loads it right into the memory of their server. We do all of our, this is completely web-based. We do our stuff on their server, and then we can save it back down to our machine for free. Really cool. This 3rd way right here, this Pixlr-O-Matic, that's basically a imagine that as like your parents or your grandparents' way to edit images. You just take a picture, give it to Pixlr, and let it do the corrections it wants to do, and then you can get back to and give it back, get it back. So the Pixlr editor is the 1st way. Pixlr Express, which we're going to use, would be the 2nd way. Pixlr-O-Matic would be the 3rd way, and then this Autodesk Pixlr would be the 4th way. But let's spend our time with Pixlr Express. To get this to work, I'm just going to click on launch the web app, and it brings up a web page which looks like this. And what's interesting, as we work on these, notice how the background is going to change. This background currently is some photo. I'm not sure exactly what photo that is, but this blurry kind of image in the back is going to be whatever we last worked on. And so the pictures I want us to work with come from a folder, looks like this, and I have 11 pictures chosen. And these 11 pictures are things we'll do everything from correcting red eye problems to straightening pictures to cropping. We're just going to work through these pictures, and this is on my computer, this folder is, but I'm going to send these pictures to the web server and work on them, and then I'll save them back. So let me start with the first one. I'm just going to, where it says, what do you want to do? Do you want to work off of your webcam, a collage, open a URL? So these are ways that you could get pictures, but the one that we're going to use is called browse. We're just going to browse our computer. So I'm going to go to my computer. This is on my desktop, and I have a folder called Pixlr, and I'm going to select my first one I want to work with, this one called crop. And you may recognize these pictures. A couple of them are ones that I've taken myself of my family, or they're ones that I've gotten from website, like the one of Russell Crowe. That's one I downloaded because I know the Russell Crowe picture is perfect for what we're going to need to do. But like these others are things that I've gotten from like Microsoft clip art, and so some of these you'll recognize as stuff you've probably seen in web pages or documents or flyers or whatever. These are like Microsoft pictures that I'm working with. I want to show you the cropping feature of this website. So when I chose browse and select it, it took my picture from my machine, put it onto their web server. I'm working off of Pixlr's computer and processor, not my own, and really the only thing that's going to hold me up would be my internet connection. If my internet connection is is fast enough, I'm not going to see any kind of delays or problems or whatever. You'll see this is a decent sized picture. I'm currently at about 74%. If I zoomed into 100%, I'm right at about, I'm using the slider bar to do it, but as I get up closer to about 99, 100% here, it's a really big picture. We'll work with bigger ones, but it lets you slide it down to where you can see the whole thing. And this first sort of effect or first adjustment we're going to make is something called cropping. And what that means is you have a big picture and you just want to keep part of it. And so I just want to have the part where it has the guy and a computer monitor, not all of this white space. And so I want to just, if I had a pair of scissors, I would just sort of trim this down the center right here, and so it's just these guys right over here. How do I achieve that? Well, down at the bottom of the screen are these different buttons. One of these is called adjustment. I click on it, and then a number of adjustments appear. These are all different things that you can do. One of the easiest ones you can use is the crop feature. I click on crop, and it takes the screen and just kind of puts some sizing handles on the corner and gives you some matrix lines in the middle, and you can start to adjust what do you want to keep. I want to keep all of the guy's body, his hand, and as you work with pictures, I'm not a photojournalist or anything like that, but as I've read, things about images and as you're trying to put an image together, you want to keep things sort of in thirds. And so like a picture where he's just like right in the middle, that might be maybe not the best picture, but we want to shoot, I know when you're shooting video you want to have people sort of in thirds of the screen. And so this looks pretty good. His face is about a third of the way over. I still get his hand here. It's kind of an interesting shot. So if I like that, all I have to do is click on the apply button right here, and it chops that part off, it crops it for me. And if I want to keep it, all I have to do is click on the save button right here. It says, okay, what do you want to call this? I'm going to call this name. I'm going to click up here, I'm going to add edited to the end of it. So I have number 1 crop edited, and it lets me choose a quality level. I'm just going to bump that up to 100%. And what that would do if I leave it lower, it makes the image size, it makes the file size smaller. See, it's already pretty small, 181 kilobytes. But if you're interested, let's say it's a huge photo and you want to make that smaller so it like loads on a web page faster, you can reduce the quality of it, and by reducing the quality of it, it reduces the file size, which makes it load over a network faster. I'm going to click save. It's going to say where do you want to put this, and I'll put it right back where I got it from that Pixlr folder on my desktop. And there it is, and I'll hit save, and so it's saving it, and it's back on my computer now. So if I close this up, I just close Pixlr altogether and go to that folder, and I'll refresh my view of this folder here. I should have a copy of that picture in here. Okay, now what if I was in the right folder? So let me close that one up. Here's that folder I was working from and wanted to be saving to. So there it is. There's number 1 cropped edited. If I open it up, this is a different program. This is a program called IrfanView that's on my computer. So you'll see this is coming right from my computer, and there's that edited picture that we did all the modifications to through the web server. So pretty cool. Just as an aside, when I was a much younger man, my brother was a photojournalist for a newspaper, and this was back, he graduated from photojournalism school back in the early 90s, and so at that point they were still using film-based cameras for a lot of stuff. And so as he learned to do all the photojournalism, he would let me go to the darkroom with him and help with stuff sometimes. And this process of cropping using film was really interesting. Basically, you would take cardboard, and as the negative was in the machine, and the light was passing down through the film onto the film paper, you would take cardboard strips and then like cut off the part of the picture that you didn't want from above, from the light that was being projected onto the paper, and then you'd expose the paper to it and then go and develop the paper. So really neat that we can do this sort of modification so easily, and we take it so for granted because if you've never seen that whole manual process of trying to crop something, this is really easy. But great, so we've taken a picture, we've cropped it. Let's do some more. So let me go back to Pixlr. Let me just pull that site up real quickly. Okay, so back in Pixlr, I'm going to hit Browse. The next thing I want to show you how to do is to straighten something up. And it's also, all of this is really pretty easy. But what I have here is a picture of a house, sort of a crooked house, and it looks like a really old house. I guess, maybe over time this part settled down into the ground, and this side didn't. It looks like the door, they had to break the door and redo the door, and so I just like to take this picture and sort of straighten it up a little bit. And this is also an adjustment. You go to your adjustment button here, and we're going to go to our rotate, and basically from here what we can do, it gives you grid lines. You can start to try and get that thing a little bit straighter. And so I'm going to turn it about maybe 4 degrees, and that looks a little better. I mean, you can still tell it's a crooked house, but it's kind of hard to find examples of crooked pictures. But if you ever have an instance where you need to rotate something, this effect does it. You can turn things a lot. Looks like 30 degrees in either direction, but that is a feature. So I'm going to move that right about there. I like it, so I'll save it. I'll put it back in my pictures as edited, and I'll save it. So there we go. So there's straightening. So you've seen cropping, you've seen straightening. Let's go to another really common thing that needs to be fixed a lot, and that's red eye. I'm going to go to Browse and go out to this picture called Red Eye. And this little dude is my son. This was at a birthday party a long time ago when he was still tiny. And what you're seeing, he doesn't have red eyes like that, not all the time. What you're seeing there is those are the blood vessels on the back of his eye. And so when someone takes a picture and you get that effect, essentially what the flash on the camera is doing is it's lighting up those blood vessels and the veins in the back. And so if you had like a retina scanner for biometrics, that's what it'd be looking at, is that red stuff back there, because that's unique to each individual person. And so we want to fix those red eyes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in here, and we'll get to where we're further up. You'll see that you have like a panning feature here. I'm going to get up here on his face, and just want to fix these red eyes. And so that's pretty good. So go to adjustment. There's a red eye effect in here, and it's right there. And all I have to do with red eye is just find the center of the eye and fix it. That's easy enough. That looks really cool. And if I zoom back out here, instead of looking like Damien, he now looks like a normal little boy. So awesome. Then I can go through the save process. Again, you hit save, and you can change the name as you wish there, and put that in back onto your local computer. So we've fixed cropped things, we've straightened things, we've fixed red eye. Let's fix something else. Alright, next we're going to work with pictures that are either too bright or too dark. And you can work with the brightness and the contrast of those pictures a lot of times to make them look better. So I'm going to close this one, and note the background. Like this is his face right here. That he takes the background back there. It's one of the neat things about this site, I think. I'm going to hit Browse. I'm going to go out to the picture I've called Too Bright, and I'll select it. And this is again, Microsoft clip art picture, and it's a young man shaking a businesswoman's hand there. But if you notice the side, the left side of his face, as we're looking at the picture, it's the right side. It's so bright. There's so much sunlight coming through that window right there. It's really hard to see like the edge of his head. And it'd be nice if we could fix that to where it's not quite so bright. This, and also the correction for a picture being too dark, the correction methods come from the same place. And if you go to adjustment down here, you'll see that under the contrast area, if you go into this, you can start to affect the brightness and the contrast. And the contrast, I believe, is just basically the difference between the light and the dark. If we zoom that up all the way, you'll see like that's obviously not going to help much. But if we take that back down to where it was, and then we take the brightness and we start to work with it, maybe move it down a little bit, we can perhaps get this to where it's a little bit better. not making a whole lot of progress on this one. It's kind of a hard picture to work with because it is so bright on the side of his head. But brightness and contrast are tools that we can use to try and make pictures look a little better that have been taken with too much light or too little light. I really don't like that one. I'm not super happy with that one. I'm going to hit cancel, and I'm going to move on to the next one where the picture is too dark. Let me go to it. I'm going to browse. I'm going to go to too dark, and here you have a gentleman, looks like an architect. He has plans in front of him, a little model of a house, and that's not a bad picture, but it's sort of dark. And I'm going to go back to that same adjustment area, go into contrast, and let me work with the brightness here. See if I can start to, yeah, that looks a little better. So as I adjust the brightness on this one, if I wanted to adjust contrast on it, I could still try and get maybe some of the black and the white to still be nice and showing up a good contrast of that. But you can see more of the guy's face now. If I cancel the initial effect, you'll see how dark that picture was originally. So again, adjustment, contrast, you can do things like adjust brightness and contrast, and if you do like it, you can apply it, and there you go, and you go through like the save process. And so there we go. Fixing the bright one turned out to be a little bit of a fail, but the darkness, we fixed that dark one pretty well. I'm going to close that up. Let's see what's next. Okay, next we're going to work with pictures, like the temperature of a picture. And I was reading about this last week, and I was reading that there's a book by a lady named Robin Williams, and it's a design book, and it's a design book for non-designers. And in that picture, we were learning about the color wheel, and how do artists come up with the selections of pictures, selection of colors that are going to be in like a color scheme. Why does purple go with gold really well? Well, if you look at the color wheel, because those are opposite of one another, on the color wheel, they complement each other really, really well. And so in that whole discussion, she was talking about the temperature of colors. She talks about cold colors, and she talks about warm colors. The cool colors primarily are colors that involve a lot of blue, a lot of the hues of blue. And the warm colors are the ones that involve red in them. And so what she recommends, and again, this is kind of a tangential sort of thing, because it's talking about like if you're putting a document together and you have even just a little bit of a warm color, that will almost overpower cool colors. And so but I bring that up just for the fact that when you look at a picture, if a picture has a whole lot of blue light in it, it feels like a cool picture, whereas if there's a lot of red in it, it feels like we would describe that as a warmer picture. And so we can, through the saturation and other effects in Pixlr here, we can take cool pictures and try and warm them up, and vice versa. And so I'm going to go to Browse, and I'm going to go out to a picture that I've called Cool. It's number 6. It's called Cool. And again, this is Microsoft Clip Art. There's a woman staring at a monitor there, and it feels really blue to me. This feels like maybe she's sitting in a freezer or something like that. Well, if we want to make this picture feel like, give it some more color where she doesn't look like she's freezing to death, what can we do? Well, we can go to Color, and then we can go to the adjustment, and then go to Color here, and it has like 3 little circles put together there. And then from here, we get to change things like the hue, the saturation, and the lightness. And through modification of these, see what we can do here. See if we can give her a little bit more skin. If we go too much, you'll see she turns almost like like a character out of Avatar, where you give her like blue skin. But if we move it just a little bit, we can get it to where she actually looks a little bit healthier. That lightness is changing how much light is in there. And again, I'm not a photojournalist, and I'm not a professional photographer here, so there's a lot about this I don't know, but I know by changing some of this stuff, we can get this to where she looks a little bit healthier than she did right out of the gate. So that looks a little better. She's looking, so if I hit cancel on that, you'll see it'll go back to what it was. And so I like what we had there, and I'm going to apply that. So she looks a little bit like she's had some more sun. I'm going to save that, and the next one I have for you is a picture from a a library where a young man is standing in front of a bunch of books, and the spines of a lot of the books and the wood kind of give it this really warm color. If I wanted to cool that down, like let's say this is an advertisement for Harry Potter, and this is Harry Potter in the Hogwarts library. I'm trying to make that feel really cold, like maybe he's reading about Voldemort or something like that. How can I do that? Well, if I go to adjustment, go back to that color, and you'll see how red it is here. Bring this thing down, get this where it's more bluish. You can experiment with this. And so again, the purpose here would be to try and make this thing look as good as possible. Right now I'm kind of messing it up, but a neat feature of Pixlr is this ability to go into color and change things like hue, saturation, and lightness. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of that one. Now let me take you to our next modification. Alright, next what I want to do, I'm going to close this guy out, and I want to open a picture, and I've called it black and white. And what I'd like to do is I want to take this really colorful picture, and I want to remove all the color from it and make it grayscale or black and white. And this is the last one that comes from that same color adjustment. But basically, if you take the saturation and totally remove it, it makes your picture black and white. So if you have a color picture that you'd like to grayscale, this will do it for you. So again, you just go into saturation, remove all the saturation, and then you could save that picture as a grayscale image. So there you go. Our next one that I want to show you is a really neat tool for normal people. Like I'm going to go ahead and close this guy out. Let me open up the picture of Russell Crowe, because as handsome as Russell Crowe is, he's a normal dude. And you'll see there's a really big picture. I'm only at 26%. As I zoom in here, you'll see that Russell Crowe, just like the rest of us, has blemishes and things that he probably would, he doesn't like. He has a mole on his face here. You can take things like blemishes and heal them through this Pixlr tool very easily. And the way you do that is there's an adjustment called Heal, H-E-A-L. And so you take that, and what it does is it gives you a brush, and you start to click around the area, and essentially what it does, it looks at the pixels on the screen, and it takes the adjacent pixels and it makes it match up or mesh in. So that mole is, for all practical purposes, it's gone. And so we'll apply that. Let me zoom back out, and you'll see that that mole on the side of his face is gone. And so really neat thing that you can do with this program. Now the next one I want to show you is one that's called the focal point. And let's go to another picture to do this, because I'm going to close that one. Let's open up this this sharpened picture right here. I'm going to show you a couple of, let's go to, I know I'm hemming and hawing here. Let me pick one. I'm going to go with this one right here with the too bright picture. Have you ever seen a picture where the center of the picture is very crystal clear, and as it goes out from the center, it starts to blur? Well, let's say we're going to do a picture where it has something to do with people making a deal. And so we'll go with like the handshake here. I'm going to go to adjustment and go to what's called focal point. And from the focal point, or focal here, I get to choose where on the screen it's going to concentrate. And then from there, I can then, through these concentric circles here, start to adjust how blurry it gets and when it starts to, like let's say we want to maintain clarity all the way up to there. You can do that. But neat effect that you can do that. Now you can also do color boosting. So with this color boosting, you'll see that it sort of makes that part really vibrant, and you've got like a glow effect too. You can adjust how blurry it's going to get as it goes away from the focal point, and so that's kind of a neat effect that you can apply to your pictures. And so the last one I want to show you is one that is again, helpful for like normal people. If you have somebody who you know who drinks too much coffee, for example, let's say they have coffee teeth, and so I'm going to come down here to a picture I've saved as teeth. Horrible picture, sorry. I know it's really nasty, but what you want to do is go to the adjustment area, and from the adjustment area you'll see there's one called Brighten, and think of this as like the tooth whitening tool. And what you can do is you can the brush size currently is really small. Through the adjustment of this one, this little slider bar right here, I can make that bigger, and you'll see that the whitening can be, right now it's currently at 75%, and as I start to use my mouse, I'm left clicking here and going over the teeth, I'm starting to make the teeth look whiter. And so if you have somebody that you would like to polish up a little bit and make their teeth look whiter, there you go. So we'll just do one tooth for this person to make them look even weirder. But essentially what you do is you go in there and you choose a brush size and then a whitening. Let's take that all the way up to 100%. See if we can get that tooth that you can get even brighter in there. Can't do any more. But then you could apply that change. And so those are some really neat tools that are available to you through the Pixlr. I'll go ahead and close that picture. That's gross. Let's open up one other one though. This one I called Sharpen right here. And just to kind of recap some of the stuff we've talked about, you've got all these really neat tools. You have like cropping. You have the ability to change the hue and the contrast and the brightness, all the way down to grayscaling things. You have the ability to heal blemishes. You have the ability to brighten teeth if you need to. You can fix red eye effects. And if that's not enough, you also have this under the effect area. I'm sure you've seen pictures like this. It's really popular now for people to take their pictures and then do things like apply these sort of artistic sort of effects to them, and you'll see that all over the place. It reminds me kind of Apple computer kind of stuff. This is just stuff you can do with the Pixlr website, and when you're done you can save the things back to your computer. All you need is an internet connection, and you can do this with a phone, with a tablet, with a laptop, with a desktop PC. So I hope you'll enjoy it. Thanks for your time and attention. Have a good day.